Hey everyone, I wanted to make a video about the importance of TP, how to properly use TP. I feel like I have seen a lot of people take TP, but they hold on to the TP forever until the best fight possible happens. And that's just not the most efficient way to use the summoner spell. There's a lot of different use cases, different niches where you can get the most value out of TP. I feel like there's this misconception where Ignite and Exhaust might net you a kill versus, TP might not. I mean, yes, that might be true sometimes, but as you are climbing the elo brackets, as players get better and better, they will exploit you for the weaknesses for not taking TP. Unless the matchup really calls for a combat summoner spell, TP is almost always the better spell to take if you know how to use it. And that's what I would like to go over in this video. That way it doesn't feel like a dead summoner spell half the time. I'm going to break this video up into a few different sections. I'm going to start off with some laning phase topics. First few clips I have here are the matchup where one laner has TP and the other laner doesn't have TP, how to play that way, what you should be thinking about on either side of the matchup, and then have a couple clips how you should be playing the matchup when both laners have TP. Third topic, what to do with your TP around the 10-minute mark, right when your TP upgrades to the Unleash TP. And then the last segment, how you should be utilizing TP mid and late game. Cool, let's start off with the first topic. This is Nemesis. He used to be a mid laner for Fnatic. Now he's a full-time streamer. He's playing Veigar versus Fizz. He lost his flash earlier, but he does have TP. You don't see it, but the Fizz has Ignite and no TP. So let's just kind of explain the dynamics here. When you have TP and the enemy mid laner doesn't have TP, usually it's like assassins like Fizz, Katarina, a lot of those kinds of champs will opt to take an Ignite because they want to kill. What should you be thinking about just going into this matchup? The idea here is you have TP advantage. The benefit of having TP is that you can basically return to lane pretty much whenever you want instantaneously. Like obviously you have to channel recall, which takes 8 seconds and have to heal up a little bit, but that's generally the advantage and idea of having TP in lane. The advantage that the assassin player gets by taking Ignite is that they have more damage for the all-in. To play around that, you just want to make sure you're not ever in a position where you could be in lethal range. It really depends on the matchup, right? But let's say this matchup specifically, most of the time assassins, they're like insanely strong off their level 3 spike because, a lot of assassins have gap closers, dashes versus someone like Veigar or control mages. They are not as strong at level 3. So in these types of matchups, you want to make sure like the wave is somewhere here. This is the safest position for you where, once the assassin hits level 3, you're still in a position where you can safely farm without dying. Obviously, this game, Nemesis has no flash, so like it's even more important that he keeps the wave around this line. The idea with TP is we want to farm as many creeps as possible while staying out of lethal range. And then when we run out of resources or we are in lethal range, then we just base and TP back. And then we're all good. Yeah, I'll play out the clip here. I chose this clip because Nemesis didn't play the early game very well. This Fizz E, Nemesis definitely could have avoided. Like he didn't even need to walk up after the Fizz E. Nemesis should just click back here because the wave is in a good spot. If you notice closely, it is going to come back to him. He's not missing any creeps by clicking backwards in this frame, so there's no reason for him to eat this harass. Yeah, he's still fairly healthy, but you just want to preserve as much HP as possible. A couple seconds later, he takes a really bad trade again. He actually eats the entire Fizz combo. It's really bad for him. His spacing here is really bad. All he has to do is stand here, wait for his Q to come back up, and then just Q these two. And the Fizz has Ignite. So like now it's actually getting very, very close to him being in lethal range. And because we want the wave to be somewhere around here, it's not ideal for him to base TP because the Fizz can just crash the wave and get a free base off himself. And that's why it's like very important that you are thinning the wave so the Fizz can't get a free base off. And then it's also very important that you're preserving HP so that you don't die randomly. I think a lot of people wouldn't even think that the Veigar is in lethal range here. Like he gets a beautiful cage off, but because the Fizz has Ignite, we still die. He's at half HP. It doesn't really seem like you would die in this situation. I think a lot of people just make mistakes where like you really do need to be quite healthy against someone who's taking Ignite. The extra damage from Ignite is very considerable during the all-in. If he didn't miss position and take those extremely bad trades, right, he would be full HP. And then this dive would have never happened. Like the issue here is, yeah, Nemesis can TP back, but the Fizz, he got a kill. The wave is in an equilibrium state. He walks back to lane. and he doesn't really miss anything. This is a situation where the Fizz taking Ignite actually paid off because now Nemesis has to TP back with no real advantage because the Fizz is coming back with a buy at the same time and a stronger buy at that. And then the Fizz's Ignite will be up before Nemesis's TP. This is like quote unquote worst case scenario when you have TP and the enemy mid laner doesn't have TP. Next clip here, so he's playing Galio with TP. This Pantheon actually doesn't have Ignite. He has Ghost and Flash, so just something to keep in mind. Galio doesn't win this matchup in the early phase, so the idea is, we want to farm as best as possible, thin the creeps when we can. We don't want the Pantheon to build a super big wave. The problem with that is there's a chance you get dove and then you lose the entire wave. The second problem with that is that if the wave is too big, the Pantheon can just get a free base off and you can't do anything about it. That's it. That's the idea. We want to farm as many creeps as possible, thin the wave, preserve HP, and then TP back when we need to. He's already eating some harass. It is what it is. He's trying to get as many creeps as possible. We have to give this range creep. No worries. And we don't even have to give this range creep. Yeah, CSing really well. See here, he actually used his E to dodge the Pantheon Q, which is really cool to see. Definitely worth it. Preserve HP. Because there's no way you're Eing in on this Pantheon because you're going to get annihilated. Little sneaky auto here. As soon as the auto goes off, he gets ready to E away, right? Because the idea is like we just want to thin the wave, but we don't want to trade with the Pantheon because we're going to lose that trade. And Gallia passive does AoE damage, so it's very effective for thinning waves. The wave is pushing back to the Pantheon, so it's a little bit spicy. Really good that he got all the creeps here, and then you get the fuck out. So now, like, our mana pool isn't the best, so it's a little bit hard to stay. His HP pool is pretty good, so he's thinking about whether he can stay for another wave or not. So here, the idea is we do want to base because we don't have the best mana pool. So we want to basically, we're trading our HP to shove this wave. And there's no way the Pantheon just 100 O's you from full HP. It's very unlikely, at least. You shouldn't just be like straight up autoing the creeps, wait for your cooldowns, and then push the wave and then reset. This is just really good laning by Nemesis. So now he gets to base and TP, and he's in a really good spot because he basically survived the early levels enough where he can actually use the TP. And what the Pantheon doing here is actually really smart. A lot of players would not recognize that Galio has TP and that you don't. If you're in this Pantheon's position, you can't push it in time before the Galio TP's back. So then the wave will freeze somewhere here, and then you're fucked, right? Because the Galio is coming back, he has items, full HP, full mana, and now you are, as a Pantheon, half HP, half mana, and you are stuck on your Dorn's Blade or whatever. So in this scenario, as a Pantheon, you always base. Even if you don't have TP, because this is a cannon wave, you just walk back to lane. You won't miss too much. With this third clip, so Rookie is playing TF. He doesn't have TP. He went Ghost Flash. And you'll see in a couple seconds here, he's facing, I think, an Ahri. And the Ahri has TP. So the opposite side of the no TP versus TP debate. Oh, sorry, it's Talia. Okay. Yeah, he gets a little little cheeky solo kill here. But yeah, I really wanted to highlight this clip because he gets a solo kill here. He looks at the wave really quickly and instantly decides to recall. Why do you recall instantly? Why don't you push out this wave? First of all, you should never stay with this amount of HP unless you have perfect information of, where's the enemy jungler? Could I die on this wave? But let's say he was healthier, right? Let's say he had 500 HP. You still shouldn't stay on this wave because the Talia, she's going to respawn in 5 seconds and she's going to immediately TP back. So then you can't push this wave fast enough before the Talia TP's in. And then what's going to happen is your wave is going to be stuck in front of Talia's turret and you're half HP and you have no subs. So you're very prone to a gank. And that's just not ideal, right? So it's better if you just instantly recall, you go back to base, and then you just come back and the wave is in a much better spot for you. When you're climbing higher and higher in the elo brackets, especially in these like mage versus mage matchups, usually both mid laners will take TP. So now just going to spend some time discussing of what you should be thinking about in a TP versus TP matchup. This is Chovy's playing Hui versus Soul. They both have TP. There's a huge chunk on the Soul, pushing him off. And he bases here. Like the Soul here could have based, or he's just sitting behind his turret waiting for Chovy to push in these creeps so that he can farm. If the Soul did stay, he's like 1 HP, and then Chovy would literally just walk at him and push him off or potentially kill him. So we'll see in a couple seconds. This just confirms that the Soul did base, and he's TPing back now. And Chovy, he has decent resources. His HP and his mana are not in a bad spot. He still has a potion. He still has a biscuit. You see a lot of pros do this, but they still recall, actually. He could recall, buy his items, pause and actually walk back to lane because this is a cannon wave. The Soul can't push this out fast enough to crash his wave. But technically, by the time Chovy walks back to lane, the wave would be in a good spot. So then the question is, why does he TP back to lane instantly here? And it's because the TP cooldown is 6 minutes long. By TPing back here, when your TP is back up, it'll be right before the 10-minute mark. And then at the 10-minute mark, that's when your TP upgrades to Unleash TP, where it has a shorter cooldown, and then you're able to TP to stuff other than just your turret. You're able to TP to wards, to pets, that kind of stuff. Also, by TPing back, you can contest this wave, the ASO won't get as big of a slow push off, and you can continually harass him. So there's a lot of benefits to matching TP in this scenario. Second clip here, so he's playing ASO versus Azir. Once again, they both have TPs. Very, very kind of volatile situation going on here. They actually do kill the Azir with the help of his jungler, so super huge. You'll see here, he kills the Azir, and because it's early game, the death timers are extremely short, right? 6 seconds. So he gets as many creeps as he can, but he can't stay for this wave because the Azir is going to TP back immediately. He doesn't even have enough mana or HP to merit this push. So he instantly resets, right? But I think if a lot of players were healthier, right? Let's say if a lot of players had like 500 HP, a lot of players would actually stay and try and push this wave in because they think this wave is in a bad spot. But that's the wrong way to think about this wave state. Because he has TP, he can instantly recall and TP back to lane, and then he'll maybe lose one melee creep. And if you think about it like that, then this wave state is not bad at all. People get hung up on the idea that the wave, is not in a great spot, but because you have TP, you are able to fix a lot of bad wave situations. That's something that I really want to emphasize. He bases, TP's back, and he's actually ready to help this fight immediately. You can imagine, like, if he were to stay on this wave, obviously his HP is like not great, right? But like say like you're 500 HP and you decide to stay on this wave, then you actually can't even help this fight that's about to happen. That's one advantage. And the second advantage we already talked about where you're not even missing creeps if you take this recall. Because you're gonna have to recall anyway. This is kind of like the wave state that he returned to. It's a little bit worse because he went to help the fight here, but the idea is like this is kind of the wave state that he left it in. Now he's full HP, full mana. Not a problem to shove this at all. Not a problem. Even if the Azir was full HP, Chovy would have no issues shoving this wave, and the Azir can't stop him. This next clip here, so yeah, Chovy gets a nice little solo kill here, pushes the wave in. We see Hui channeling his TP immediately. And kind of a similar situation to when Chovy was playing Hui 2 clips ago, where he's a little bit low on mana, but he has biscuits, so it's totally fine. His HP is good. He has 2 potions still, but we are still choosing to base and TP back because of the point I mentioned earlier, where by basing and TPing, after 6 minutes, his TP will be up as it's upgrading to an Unleashed TP. There's an argument that could be made where if you really need some extra gold for a certain item and you have good HP, good mana, then you could stay for this wave. But 1200 gold, pretty good for mid laners to base off of. You can get any tier 2 boots you want. You can get Lost Chapter, no problem. Okay, so this is the same game. It's 9 minutes. He just killed Hui with the help of his recon. As a mid laner, you should be tracking what sums the enemy mid laner has. If you remember in the last clip, the Hui TP'd back 10-15 seconds before Chovy's TP, and Chovy's TP is up. So the Hui's TP should be up as well. There's a couple of, maybe you could say, mind games going on with this here. So Chovy is deciding to push this wave first before basing. So I'm going to rewind a little bit just so I can give you guys some more context behind Chovy's next decision after killing this Hui. So we see here, enemy bot lane looks like they're going to push, and then they're either going to recall or roam, right? That's like the only 2 options they have. Enemy jungler is topside. We have perfect information from this spot. We just killed the Hui. We know the Hui has TP. That's why Chovy initially starts the recall here, because Hui could TP back. But then he sees that this next wave is not a cannon wave, and then the Hui hasn't respawned just yet, right? Because the death timers are a little bit longer now. So what does he do? He makes the decision to actually quickly push this wave before he makes the recall. Normally this would be a little bit risky, but I wanted to backtrack a little bit to give you guys some context that he's actually perfectly safe here. No one's going to kill him. So what is the benefit of pushing this wave? Well, first of all, obviously you get more golden XP before your base. The second point is, as he finishes pushing this wave, Hui respawned. Hui has to make a tougher decision. As the Hui, do you TP back immediately, or do you sack this wave and wait for your TP to become unleashed in 30 seconds? Chovy, by pushing this wave, he is forcing this Hui to make that decision. And if the Hui does choose to TP back, then Chovy has TP advantage, and it's actually a pretty fat TP advantage because his TP will become unleashed and active versus the Hui's TP cooldown will be longer and not unleashed. So I think very, very kind of smart play by Chovy here. It might not seem like much, but it's very calculated and very clever. You see Chovy bases now. He doesn't TP back because he wants his TP to upgrade into Unleash TP before using it. That's the benefit of TPing back early, like we saw him do around minute 4. And now you can use TP to actually impact the map and make a play. This next clip, so it's 11 minutes. We do have Unleash TP. I don't know where the enemy mid laner is. Maybe they recalled. We push in this wave. We're looking bot. A bot fight is about to happen, but we don't have a ton of mana to work with. We'll see what he does in a couple seconds. We're going to base fire items so that we can spike, get our mana back, and then we have Unleash TP. And this is kind of the beauty or the advantage of Unleash TP. You can TP like to anywhere, right? You can literally fucking just aggro TP in here, right? Because your team's backing you up and you just force a play. And because he pushed in the mid wave before he based and TP'd, he's not missing any creeps. Yeah, like now he needs to hurry back to mid lane because he's going to miss creeps soon, right? But he didn't miss any creeps off the initial TP. He missed 3 creeps. Completely worth it. What I'm trying to highlight with this clip is a lot of players with this mana pool, they would have walked down here and, maybe they would have been in range for like 1 QW, but it's actually more efficient and you can contribute more to the fight if you base and TP back aggressively. You're going to have more damage because you're buying, you're going to have more mana to work with, and you're going to be TPing in a position where you're able to dish out more damage at basically no cost because your wave is in. That's the idea of the clip here. This next clip, okay, we got Azir flash. Azir is basing. Jovi's going to quickly shove this wave. We see Azir TP back, and we should immediately be thinking we have TP advantage. I have the wave pushed in. I am down to base and make a TP play if there's a TP play available. He's looking around the map. He's pinging. Like I could TP here. He looks around, looks around. There's no play to be made. So I'm just going to TP back mid because I don't want the Azir to push this wave for free and then roam. The point of this clip is that you don't always need to save your TP for a big play. You should TP in for a big play if it makes sense, right? And ultimately, it kind of depends on your wave states. This whole game is about wave states at the end of the day. If you hold your TP here and you walk back the lane, the Azir would push out this wave and now he has a roam timer and you don't. So by TPing back here, right now, you're preventing the Azir from getting that roam timer. This next clip, we just came back from base. Azir gets the push. He's fogging bot side. So the Azir is going to be here first. Chovy looks and we go for an aggressive TP. Normally, this TP could be grief if his team wasn't behind him. As a mage in general, you want to TP more defensively. You kind of want to be TPing in a safe spot. Usually, that means it's like a ward behind your front line. Versus if you're playing someone who can make more aggressive plays, like Yone, for example, then it makes a little bit more sense to TP on an aggressive ward. That way you can come from an angle, come in for a flank. It's a lot better for your champ as Yone. But actually, this ward is a safe ward because his team is right behind him. I think a lot of players would just sit mid and then wait for more information, wait for people to show. But Chovy's actually aggressively TPing here and actually forcing his way into this fight rather than coming this way. He can't really come from the mid wave because it's all fog. They could very well be waiting in a bush for him. By coming in from the same side as his team, he can dish out damage safely. Getting to that last point I made about, as a mage, you generally want to TP in a safer position. You see here, a fight breaks out mid. He's about to respawn. He does have TP. He TPs, but like this turret, normally you would think it's safe. It's like a little bit on the fence right now because his team just got completely wiped and then the enemy team is all here and they could dive him. I still think this is probably the move in the current situation, but want to highlight that as a mage, you want to generally TP in a safer position unless the fight is already hard winning. You see here, he TPs in, this Olaf is running him down, right? Like it ends up working out super nicely for him, but it really just stresses the point. You can imagine if he TP'd in a spot that was any more aggressive than this line, he would have died. The TP placement is very important. Yeah, I made this video because a lot of players in the mid late game, they're holding onto their TPs forever and they're not looking to make proactive plays. There's a couple of clips here that I want to show that really highlight the possibilities and advantages you can get from having TP in the mid late game. So in this clip, Jovi's pushing bot lane. Gonna drop some vision for himself just to make sure he feels safe. Yeah, I don't know what the full context here, but yeah, he decides to push out this wave fast. Just want to highlight a few things that you should be thinking about if you're in Chovy's position here. The wave is in, but you can't stay to actually hit this second turret safely. I have good HP, good mana. I don't need to recall because I don't have anything to really buy. So I'm looking for a TP angle. There's nothing else for me to do. Looks around, looks around, looks around. Let's just force this mid turret. You might be thinking, oh, they would have gotten this mid turret anyway. But this is still the best use of TP because you could siege for the next turret or you could go to Herald as a team. Either way, you're going mid in this situation. Here, where you have absolutely nothing to do, there's no reason for you to recall because there's nothing to buy. If you want to save TP, you would walk mid anyway. So by TPing mid, you're just increasing the tempo of that play. You're just making what you were already going to do 30 seconds faster, and you're giving the enemy team less time to respond. That's an example of a very proactive TP. The whole point of TP is to increase your tempo. Whether that's making proactive plays like we saw in the last clip or TPing in to force a fight. There is a third use case where you can TP somewhere to collect farm and collect as much XP and gold as you can before the next fight. And I think a lot of players also don't realize that this is a huge benefit of having TP. So see here, it's kind of like a little siege attempt mid, little fight. They get the Camille, they get the Callista. And then here it's like, well, 3 enemy teammates are dead. We see Rise top, and then Yone was bought. Basically perfect information here. But after this fight, you as the Hui could stay and help your team siege this mid turret. But the Rise is still top. The Yone might have based, but then he'd be coming from base. Your team doesn't need help to siege this tier 2 turret. Basically, the play is over. What's the best play for you as the Hui? The best play for you to do is to actually just TP top and collect as many resources as you can. First of all, this denies the Rise from potentially taking this tier 2 turret. The tier 2 turrets are worth 700 local gold, which is absolutely nuts. Second advantage is that you collect this wave, you collect the next wave, and then maybe a third wave, right? So that's 2 to 3 waves that you're collecting before the next fight happens, which is huge. I think a lot of players wouldn't TP immediately. They might think maybe the Rise could dive, or this TP isn't safe, or that they should recall first and then save their TP. But by TPing, you are collecting 2 to 3 waves, like we just said, and then the timing actually works out where by the time your teammates recall after hitting this tier 2 turret, you would have pushed the wave in, and then you would also recall and then regroup with the team. So that works out really nicely. See, he collects 1 wave. This is the second wave. And now he doesn't feel safe for the third wave, right? There's a chance that the Rise could have sticked around, so he's just going to choose to base. That actually gives him enough gold for his Horizon Focus spike. I think a lot of players would have stayed to hit the 2-2 turret. They would have based. They would not have enough for the Horizon Focus. Then they would have walked top, gotten enough money for Horizon Focus, then base again for Horizon Focus. But that's like at least like a minute slower than this play. But now he got his Horizon Focus spike. He doesn't have TP, which is totally fine. He can just group with his team. He's stronger. If he didn't TP here after that last fight, he wouldn't have this spike in time for his teammates. The timing, like I said, works out really nicely where the Kaisa and Galio are basing now. He's also in base and they're ready to move. They are on the same tempo. This last clip I have, finally a faker clip. Sorry, I just kind of looked through the quickest clips I could find with these concepts. But yeah, fight breaks out mid. We're chasing this TF, blah, 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 blah. Enemy Kiana is pushing tier 2 turret and Faker immediately TPs. So it's like, basically this fight is already over. The idea is how can we get as strong as possible for the next fight? And that's literally the exact same idea. There's no reason to stay mid any longer. We can't take the mid inhib, so like we would need to recall anyways. The Kiana is sieging our tier 2 turret. We don't want that to happen. We're full HP. Mana pool is good enough to wave clear, so we should TP bot, collect as many resources as we can, and then you have a fuck ton of money, you spend that money, and then you regroup with the team for the next fight. TP spot actually chooses to fight the Kiana. He just feels like he's stronger. And yeah, look at that. He gets rewarded with a kill and basically like 2 waves of XP, 1 wave of gold. Yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful in some way. And if you like these types of videos, please drop a like and subscribe. Definitely really helps the algorithm. Appreciate anyone who made it this far in the video and see you all next time.